I'm excited to introduce our first feature, Mark States. Mark is the founder of Berkeley, California's long-running open mic Poetry Express, which ran from 2002 to 2020 and was its host from 2002 to 2011. He facilitated public speaking for poets workshops at the Berkeley Art Center. Mark is very well known in the Bay Area and LA poetry circles for being a fine writer with a dramatic flair in presenting his work, and you will see that tonight. He was a juror for the 2023 Monologues and Poetry Film Festival, and his work has been published in Electronic Corpse, Oakland's Neighborhoods, Poetalk, and San Gabriel Valley Poetry Quarterly, as well as online in poeticdiversity.com, poetrymagazine.com, and Dashboard Horus, as well as in the 2022 anthology COVID, Isolation and Hope. Poets Respond to the Pandemic from Finishing Line Press. Mark currently lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. Please welcome Mark States.
Thank you so very much, Sandy, and thanks to everyone for being here and tuning in. This is another dimension of sight and sound and mind. You are entering the shadowy places. Deep into the weeds of melancholy I had come, from that purgatory of a teenager's room, alone with the afternoon sun and tabletop AM radio. Volume set just high enough to muffle any sobs calling out their presence. You're ugly. You're stupid. Nobody likes you. These thoughts danced over my pillow, hovering like gnats over the carcass of an expired plum, each phrase grabbing the cuff of my pants legs and dragging me even deeper into the weeds of melancholy, the deepest places, the shadowy places where only spiders and rats exist. And those red ants that would absolutely eat you alive if you were ever tied to a maple tree and someone slit the bark above you and maple syrup oozed out and slowly began to cover you, then those ants soon cover you as those hurtful words had covered you. Everything is covered, but I feel so naked and ashamed, wincing as each mandible of condescension dug in and scooped out a milligram of flesh and self-respect. So deep into the weeds, their roots in the dirt appear as lightning striking overhead. Assuredly, I should be dead, as the bully said. In order to keep myself alive, I buried myself inside a dream. At the first hint of dawn, I shall tiptoe down the stairs with fishing pole and tackle box and every penny I had, hitchhike if I could, walk if I had to, from the bay to the delta, to one of the rivers or sloughs Grandma and Grandpa used to take us to. Find a clearing by a shore, surrounded by protector trees and away from the view of the farmer whose land it was. I'd forage for bait and catch my own meals of fish, and yeah, I'd probably need a tent and a blanket before it got to rainy season. Who knew if I had enough dollars and quarters for that? A 16-year-old has only so much experience in the economics of staying alive, though the motivation is certainly there, and how much worse could it be anyway? When compared to a room of solitude, dreading the next voice through the wall might wrap its arm around my neck and choke out the last breath of my dignity, I would rather have died sitting at the base of a tree, fishing pole in hand, the last conscious thought before slipping away, marveling at the beauty of a dragonfly hovering in a breeze several feet away. And next of kin, not being able to identify my body because they could not remember ever seeing a smile on my space. Apartment 18. Portable TV sat in a chair next to a foldable dining table, slightly larger than a card table. Table and chair backs were yellow, the closest I'd get to seeing sunlight until mid-afternoon on this western and backside end of the building. One chair to hang a coat or hoodie for the night, the other chair for me to sit and eat with no other company than the TV, the hot plate, and the toaster oven. Barely 19, living in a studio apartment that was barely a room. It had been the building's laundry room. Washers and dryers removed, a toilet and bathtub installed, clothes folding counters lined 3 walls. I stacked an ever-growing collection of books and vinyl albums on them. Every once in a while, I'd pop open the curtain in this basement room just to see if anything was stirring. A cat, a bird, a squirrel, to get my mind, if not body, outside the room before returning to solitude. One night, I'd left the window open and morning fog broke in. Like the eye spots on a brown butterfly's wings, flittering and distracting potential predators. Like a talk box hooked up to a guitar, the poem mouths the words as though it were the instrument speaking. Is it just a lyric, a song and a feeling? Like the apology that wasn't, like the picture of a tree in a paperback book, like parrot and bird caller in conversation, things are not always what they seem. We fill in the blanks. We make pronouncements. We lose our voices screaming over someone else's to keep them from being seen. A pen tilts, as would the head of a dog to jot it all down. The world barks itself up a paper tree and cannot get down and funky. Like misreading what fingers are signing, like sitting in a parlor in fancy duds and guessing wrong in a game of charades. You can't go on thinking nothing's wrong. Oh, why? Who's going to drive you home tonight? Scenery slowly streams by on the bus ride home, leafless limbs of trees stoic in their emptiness. A white and light green fire plug, and a few feet away, its neighbor, the overflowing public trash receptacle with fast food bags and napkins hanging out of its mouth, and a cherry soda on top. Sun-faded newspaper covers the windows of a shop long closed to business, while gossip about what happened continues. Scenery and bus amble through big city traffic, stopping and starting as people get on or get off, but I barely notice which. Eyes stay focused on the window, as this ride is not a pleasure. I didn't mean to turn you on. The title of a popular song that came out of her mouth, entered my ears, and plummeted to the bottom of my soul like Wile E. Coyote to the desert floor, complete with body-shaped crater and puff of dust. It was my fault, I suppose, for not knowing the difference between I'm flirting with you because I like you and I'm flirting with you because I'm new at this job and need you to like me so I can keep this job. Wisdom comes after the train wreck. I said something. She hit the pneumatic brakes, but it was too late. Scenery slowly streams by on the bus ride home, lifeless lumps of soul stoic in their coldness. A burning and rising bile, ejecting like slow-moving lava from a throat that would rather cry out its regrets in a vain prayer for some sort of vindication, while certainly gossip about what really happened will continue tomorrow. It was the same way I felt, tray in hand, asking the cool kids, can I sit with you? But end up sitting in the bottom of a trash can, overflowing with cafeteria wrappers and napkins, an expired milk carton poured on for good measure, the title of a popular song I came to hate in the 1980s. I didn't mean to turn you on. But since then, upon occasion, I too have needed to speak those same words, remembering how much they hurt, how long they dwell in shadows that turns of the head looking back cannot shake. Unjust because even in defending me, boss man finds time to blame me. I do not understand. I'm no office politician, just a voter who follows the party line of let me do my job in peace. Why must I be squeezed like a toothpaste tube? Already anorexic, there's no more water in the stone in my stomach. Why does it take a tantrum to get a thank you? Why does the telephone ring send a chalkboard finger scratch down my spine? I wish my side was not so painted into a corner. I wish the paycheck did not come with duct tape for mouth attached. I wish I wasn't singing, John Lennon, why does everybody want to crucify me all the time? Will you ever see me humanly? Will you stop polluting my stream of consciousness? I ask because some days I only get as far as the apartment lobby before wanting to turn around and go back home. Working in the dark. It's the day shift. All the lights are on. Computers and mouths are running, but it feels so strange, so eerily slimy and gooey kind of strange. It's not easy working in the dark. When you don't know why all the supervisor's doors are closed and the air is as tense as the final second before all hell breaks loose in some bar fight, except there's no final seconds, just more humming silence and nervous chatter behind cubicle walls. The bosses are on our asses too much to simply pull a mass disappearing act, scurrying like cockroaches when the light comes on for the safety of a crack underneath their office door. The office door you tried to knock on earlier and was told, I'm in a meeting, but you don't remember the door opening all day. It's now 3 p.m. No boss has been cited since the janitorial service supervisor called at closing time yesterday. Something has to be going on. Something is wrong. The lights are on, but we are working in the dark, fumbling through our apprehension and guessing we're hitting the right keys on the keyboards, thinking about Armageddon and the unemployment office, of being downsized and frisked for weapons by the off-duty cop hired to escort the terminated from the building. It is the day shift. All the lights are on. Computers and mouths are running, but it feels so strange. It's not easy working in the dark. Angry, don't be angry with me. Don't you spit in my face. We've all got the hunger, the aching bottomless pit of soul stomach desires. None of us are getting any younger. That extra spicy life sets our intestines on fire. So please don't get hangry with me. Boss man got us working through lunch. He says he can't afford to pay any overtime. Our heads are below the shoulders of a rocky road because we can't get over the bottom line. We want our sandwich and eat it too. We all do. So please don't get hangry with me. I'm just sitting here working the spreadsheets, back to the door and facing a solid wall, not at all prepared to have this ceiling fall. I paid you what your supervisor's spreadsheet said to pay you. I am not personally trying to rip you off. So don't you spit in my face. Call me all kinds of dirty names, because it'll take forever and into the next life to explain to my own boss it's not my fault. You screamed while I sat there, mouth wide open. I know we all have the hunger, that unquenchable crawling through a desert thirst. I'm not hangry with you. Please don't be hangry with me. Oh, dear me. Why would I even want to write a letter to my younger self? What about all that affecting the timeline and anomalies in the space-time continuum they keep talking about in Star Trek and shit? Not that I'm going to blow up half the face of the moon pulling some stunt on a SpaceX pleasure cruise 25 years from now. I'm not that important. But I shudder at the thought of waking up tomorrow, my ashes in an urn on the top shelf of a closet, tucked away behind a thistle and dust-strewn blanket, and a collectible Chucky doll still in the box, its corners worn down like a pair of overused dice, its cellophane wrapper stinging from an ever-present aroma of unwashed sweatpants and whatever used to be in that Chinese takeout carton, cooped up in an urn, just because I'd listened to older me's advice. That would be my luck, even in the afterlife. And what would I say to my younger self anyway? Don't trust that guy you met 5 minutes ago, smiling in your face and telling you he got your back. Well, yeah. Even then, I did not really trust him. I just smiled back and nodded. It seemed the polite thing to do at the time, and he was none the wiser that I was on to him, if that ever matters, because we both knew the second I turned my back and walked away, he would backstab me. And oftentimes there's not much a person can do to stop a person's nature. Just as a person cannot keep a cloud from dropping its rain, or a scorpion from stinging, or keep a crooked politician's hands in his own pockets for a change. And you, older me of anyone, should already know that. So I'm surprised and mildly ashamed that I may eventually become you, a person who has to be reminded of who he was and lectured about staying in your lane, or time, as it were. So future me, don't be dropping me any more lines, okay? Or I might just have to write you another poem and tuck it in one of your binders. Surprise! With love, your younger self. Thank you very much, everyone.